good, y'all? We are here on the Lavash Show, episode 3, with a very, very special guest here, Margot. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Me.
So, we are here with Forbes Black community member, storyteller, culinary writer, food and columnist, currently at Timeout Portugal, Margot. Welcome to the channel.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Yeah. First off, let's just go straight into Forbes Black community members. So,
oh, jeez. Okay.
Tell us how that came about.
Sure.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I'd say like in the last couple of months, I kept seeing like different posts about the Forbes Black community, and I read and follow the Forbes media outlet in general. So that had piqued my interest. Like, okay, they have a whole arm focused on the Black community. As you know, I love telling stories about the African diaspora wherever we are in the world. And so I did a bit of research and saw that they had opportunities for people from the diaspora to apply to be a part of this membership-based community.
Wow, okay.
So I had to apply, send my information and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of a waiting period. And
Yeah.
as soon as I found out, I was like super excited.
Yeah.
So, you have access to different events. Of course, the events are right now just stateside.
Okay.
So they do have online different opportunities, and you can network with other members. They usually have speakers who are, pretty prominent members in the African American community. So I'm excited to see where it takes me.
Yeah. That's big news. That's
Thank
big
you.
news. That's
Thank
amazing. That's amazing. So let's get started. So Portugal. So
Sure.
how did you take us beginning of the journey? So how did you end up in Portugal? How Portugal?
So in 2018,
Okay, 2018.
I was on my way from Boston to Mozambique, and I was flying TAP, and they had like this deal where you could spend a couple days layover or something like this.
Yeah.
And so I took it. I was like, I had never been to Portugal. Again, it was never on my radar. I identify with more like French culture, cuisine, these types of things. So Portugal was like never really something I'd considered as a vacation destination. So it was a bit serendipitous that I landed here. I was here for about 3 days and was just running around the city trying to absorb the energy of the city, meeting really interesting people, eating great food. And then at the end of my layover, I went on to Mozambique and was still sort of thinking about my time in Lisbon and kind of bookmarked it and said, you know what, my next trip to Europe, I want to spend some time here instead of just sort of jetting off to France. And that's what I began planning since 2018. I was like, okay, I'd like to spend maybe a month if I can. Away from work. I was working in finance for
corporate
many
life.
years. So sometimes you don't get as much wiggle room to really have an extended vacation. And so the plan was to come here for 1 month and to sort of test the waters to see if I'd like to live abroad again. And then COVID happened, and then it really got me thinking, okay, what do you really want now in your life, right? Because at that point I had been working my corporate job the last 5 years, and was moonlighting as a freelance writer during that time, and it was fun, but it wasn't a creative role, and I really was hungry for something more. And so I decided to apply to relocate to Portugal in 2020.
Okay.
In the spring of 2020, when I officially left my corporate role and went freelance full time. Okay. So once I landed here in the fall of 2020, that's when I became a full-time freelance writer. And really dove into that full force,
And she's doing her thing.
Thank you. And it was really exciting. I was able to really lean into my network. And just letting people know hey, I'm a freelance writer, I'm doing this full time, I'm not in finance anymore. So if you know anybody that would be interested in, being one of my clients, let me know. I was on LinkedIn, I was really on all of the platforms. Really active on Facebook and the Facebook communities as well as Twitter. And really my community came out in droves to support.
Wow.
People would send, email introductions on my behalf and it was really wonderful to see. So I feel like it's for me, it's so important to pay it forward to the next person.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's sort of the long and short of how I landed in Portugal.
Okay. So you say in 22. So was this before, after, or during COVID?
This was really at the height of COVID.
It was the height of okay. You was not playing.
Yeah, and like I think the biggest thing was like breaking the news to my family and friends, right? Because coming from the Haitian community, we were very close knit and family oriented, and I'm really quite close to my siblings. So I told them, and they were like, "What do you mean?"
Shout out to my toes.
Yeah, and that was maybe the biggest hurdle. And I told them like, "Hey, I'll come back, in December of 2020," which I did. And I was like, if I don't enjoy my time there, Boston's always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's going to be home. So I sort of came here with that in mind, and the community that I've been able to build, and the amazing people that I've been able to have the privilege of meeting and like being in community with has really allowed me to be settled here. So I'm not saying it's easy. There are ups and downs for sure, but like I think focusing on building community, like authentic and genuine community where people like really look out for you and check in on you when you're like quiet or whatever is it's super valuable. So
that's amazing. So how would you say, how's the relationship been with your friends and family? So what are the odds that I meet a Haitian from Mattapan?
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
And then before, you grew up in Florida?
I was born in Miami.
But born in Miami. So what are the odds? So that's amazing. And that's kind of like, wow, like that's kind of like I've started to, it's just amazing, meeting you here. So
for sure.
How would you say, since you had mentioned, because I know what it's like from the culture side, that has been like currently to now, like I know you said at the beginning, but now the relationship with the fam.
It was very, very hard. I mean, every month, the first maybe year or two, they'd be like, "Hey, are you like, when is this over? When are you coming back to reality?" Like, so I felt le bon. You're the Haitian le bon. I'm like, I mean, I haven't found him yet, but yes, there are Haitian people here, And I think it's that yearning for maybe safety and just making sure that you're okay is sort of where maybe that fear comes from at least from my family's standpoint. And two, like I did land here at the height of a global pandemic and I didn't know anyone. And so they were just like, "Girl, what are you doing?" But now like they get a sense of like, okay, I live here. I have a community of friends who support me. And the questions to return are not so frequent. Before it was like every month, it's like, okay, like when are you gonna wrap this up?
For sure.
So I think they get like, okay, Margot's quite settled.
Okay. So now let's dive into the writing. So because you're shining, I want you to
Thank you.
Don't be humble. Don't be humble.
All right, I'm working on that.
So tell them all about that expat kitchen, everything.
Sure. Again, like community. So my circle of friends, I would have them over at my place and I would cook for them. And one of my friends was like, "You should consider writing a cookbook." And before then, I always thought that I would maybe write a novel, in like my adulthood or much later in life. And then I really took her up on that, and I started recording myself cooking and then writing down the recipes, and then had a few friends do some tastings and to make sure my recipes made sense. And then I started thinking like, this is such a great way to bring people together during this COVID time where we were all in, our homes. And so I remember thinking like, what are the things that make me feel more comfort? And it's being with my friends, cooking for them, going to concerts or listening to music. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to create this sort of cookbook experience where you get to try the recipes, listen to the playlists that I've curated, as well as enjoying different like wine pairings that my friend was able to help me with, Benita Johnson. She's an amazing song. And that's really how that came about. And then they were always, encouraging me like, "Hey, maybe you should do a book launch." And then from that point, I'd already made connections with different restaurant owners, like Social Beat, Spot, and he was so gracious enough to open up his space. And that's where I did my book launch for the cookbook, The Expat Kitchen. Wow. And basically that book is an homage to my love for cooking, traveling, and storytelling. And it's 10 recipes from my culture, from Southeast Asia and different parts of the world. And it was a really fun journey. And then my current book is more of an e-guide, because I find that so many people reach out to me like, Margot, where should I go for dinner? Or like, where's a cool cocktail bar? And I love sharing stuff like that, And so I was like, this would be a really nice opportunity to put something together where people can, if they want a bookstore, if they want a library, if they want something that's Black owned, like my guide, The Quick Guide to Lisbon, it encapsulates all of that.
Yeah.
And two, it's a time saver too. Like I don't have time to like answer like all the DMs.
Because it's
like people, I'm happy that people view me as like the plug, as the connector.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, girl, you need to make use of your time. So sit down, do this. So shout out to Canva.
Shout out Canva.
But it's, again, I think being in Lisbon has like really allowed me to blossom creatively. And just people who like yourself and Fulgor and like everyone have been so affirming and like, hey Margot, like this was really great and keep up the great work. And that goes such a long way, especially as like a foreign national living outside of home, living outside of your close-knit community. So it's been really a wonderful journey for sure.
Wow, that's amazing. So would you say kind of like Portugal kind of blossomed that freelance, that cookbook, that passion?